Welcome to Mysterious Cases, where the road home isn't always the one you planned, and sometimes it vanishes beneath your feet. I'm Secret Man, and tonight we head into the Sierra Nevada mountains. California, 1978. 5 young men, 1 basketball game, and a mystery that still leaves families and investigators haunted. They were friends. They had challenges. Some had mild disabilities, but they were high-functioning, kind, and independent. That night, they went to watch a college basketball game. They never made it back. Their car was found days later, abandoned on a snow-covered mountain road. It hadn't crashed. It wasn't broken. Inside, candy wrappers and maps. Outside, no footprints. The engine had been started and stopped. In the spring, search teams found their bodies. 1 in the woods. 4 more weeks later, miles away, in and around an old Forest Service trailer. Inside the trailer, sealed food, working heat, and everything they needed to survive. And yet, they died there, slowly, as if they were waiting for something or someone to return. This is the story of the Yuba County Five, a case some have called the America Dyatlov Pass, because it doesn't just leave questions, it makes you afraid to answer them. It started like any other Friday night, February 24th, 1978. 5 men from Yuba City, California, piled into a 1969 Mercury Montego. Their names were Bill Sterling, Jack Madruga, Jack Hoot, Theodore, Ted Wire, and Gary Mathias. They were between 24 and 32 years old. All had mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions, but they were functional, social, and close friends. That night, they were headed to Chico, about 50 miles north, to watch a college basketball game. The plan was to be home before dawn. They had their own game the next day, but they never came back. When their families woke the next morning and saw empty beds, the panic began. By Monday, the police were involved. By Tuesday, a snowcat team discovered the car. It was found on a remote mountain road in Plumas National Forest, nearly 70 miles from Chico, in the opposite direction from home. The road was rugged, icy, and high into the mountains. The car wasn't stuck. The tires weren't flat. It started just fine. Inside, the maps were untouched. Candy wrappers and food from a gas station sat uneaten. There was no sign of a struggle. And outside, no footprints in the snow. Search teams swept the mountains. Helicopters, dogs, dozens of volunteers. No trace of the men. For months, nothing. Then, spring came, and the snow melted. June 4th, 1978. Almost 4 months after the men vanished, a group of motorcyclists came across a Forest Service trailer deep in the Plumas National Forest. Inside was the body of Ted Wire. He was lying on a bed, wrapped tightly in several sheets. His feet were frostbitten. His beard had grown several inches, suggesting he had survived for up to 13 weeks after the night they disappeared. He had lost nearly 100 pounds, and yet, inside the trailer were rations, blankets, a working propane heater, and a locker full of sea rations that had never been touched. He died slowly, of starvation, within reach of enough food and heat to survive. Outside, in the surrounding woods, search teams soon found more remains. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling, found 1,100 feet from the car, their bodies partially eaten by animals. Further into the forest, they found Jack Hoot's spine to 2 miles from the trailer. Near him was a pair of shoes and a flashlight that had never been turned on. The body of Gary Mathias, the only one who had schizophrenia and was on medication, was never found. His shoes, however, were in the trailer, worn by Ted Wire. What happened in that forest? Why didn't they go back to the car? Why didn't they eat the food? Why didn't they light the heater? Asterisk, asterisk. The case of the Yuba County Five has puzzled detectives for over 40 years. And no theory explains everything. Theory 1. Disorientation and panic. Maybe the group got lost. Maybe they panicked in the snow, walked until they couldn't walk anymore. But the men were dressed for mild weather. And one of them, Gary Mathias, had military experience. He knew survival. So why leave the car? Why separate? Theory 2. Foul play. Some believe they may have been forced off the road or led into the forest under threat. A man named Joseph Shans, who was on the same road that night, claimed he saw flashlight beams near the car and heard voices. But no one ever came forward. And if they were attacked, why were they left to die slowly? Theory 3. The stranger, the night they vanished, the group stopped at a convenience store. A clerk remembered them, and remembered a tall man with a beard who seemed to be with them, but wasn't one of them. To this day, his identity remains unknown. Theory 4. Something else. Why didn't Ted Wire eat the food? Why didn't he turn on the heat? Why didn't he break a window to escape the cold? Some say the group was waiting for someone to return. Maybe someone told them to stay, and they listened until it was too late. Asterisk, asterisk. 5 men, 1 car, a trailer, in the snow, and a mystery that still freezes investigators to this day. They were friends. They were strong. They had plans. But something happened in the forest, something that made no sense, something that left them to die in silence, surrounded by everything they needed to live. The Yuba County Five didn't vanish. They were found, and still we don't know why. I'm Secret Man, and this was Mysterious Cases.